Hello YouTube, it's Martin here with another update. I want to show you Benjamin's tank. Benjamin is my Oscar in the middle. Now I have moved the decorations around again, and simply because there was a lot of fighting going on between my flower horn and my Oscar fish. Now that I've provided a lot more channels, you could say, or holes they could swim through all the decorations, the flower horn has picked, him and his female have picked a nice spot where they feel safe, and he no longer needs to fight everybody, whereas the female was originally introduced, they didn't have a lot of hiding spots in the tank, so they were fighting for the one or two that were available. So now this is definitely a lot better for everybody. Everybody's nice and more calm. And Benjamin and Marbles, my flower horn, were fighting all day yesterday until I moved the decorations around. So if you do have a lot of fish fighting in your tank, part of the reason is they're territorial, and every fish needs their own hiding spot or sleeping spot. So does Benjamin, and sometimes when there isn't enough of them in the aquarium, they will fight, and you don't know why. You're just thinking, oh, it's their nature. It's really territorial. They need their cubby holes, you could say. They need their space, where they can just swim into and rest even during the day. So it's very important that you can provide that. I am trying my best to. The idea is to make the decorations look natural, so that if I have guests come over, or if I'm looking at the aquarium, so that it doesn't look like a whole lot of decorations all in one spot, so that it looks natural and sort of like a scene, like a movie, but it really is an aquarium. That's the idea I'm going for, and the more hiding spots I found, which was the case originally in some of my original first videos, I provided a lot of cover for them, and just like here, they were not fighting. Everybody had their place to even do attempt. So sorry about moving the camera. My bird here that you've seen my other videos is just trying his hardest to disrupt me recording, but let's continue on. So yeah, that's the idea, is just to make sure. Sometimes if you have to go back to your original plan, it may have been a better one. I've removed some of the leafage, but I definitely added some, well, I didn't add, but moved all my decorations around so that they provide a more of a natural scene. And it seems to work, and I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit and show you the flower horn in the very right bottom corner with his female. They are working together there at this time, and they're very safe in that corner. Even Benjamin can't get to them. So everybody in this tank, as you can see, is happy. They can all find a hiding spot now. And even Fred the crayfish has his own spot in the bottom left behind the air bubbler. And I actually stick some cut up pieces of cucumber in the hole back there, so that he actually eats something, because if I don't feed the crayfish some vegetables or like the cucumber, he will probably perish because he's got nothing else to eat. And I know that because I put him in this aquarium a couple weeks ago, and I thought the fish ate him until I tried putting cucumber as an experiment into the tank, and right away the crayfish showed up. He decided to lunge for the cucumber because he realized it was food he likes, and without a trace of the crayfish, all of a sudden he's climbing up that tree on the left of the in the tank there, and getting up to the top and grabbing the cucumber to eat it. As you saw in my other videos, that's what he was doing. That's the only reason I know that he needs his cucumber, just as some sort of a food source. I don't believe there's any fish that are actively dying or any food that gets missed, because there is loaches here, there is a pleco here, everything gets picked up off the bottom. I tried cleaning the gravel, and there is no dirt in it whatsoever. I mean, these fish are very thorough on cleaning every bit of food that gets dropped. That's partly because I've cut down my feeding to once a day. Possibly I'll feed them twice a day, but the second feeding is not so much. So if I do feed them once a day, I do feed them fairly good during that feeding, so they can go once a day, and then maybe a little bit of a snack before they go to sleep. So that works out well for them. And if you've never had an aquarium before, I would say, if you can get a nice big tank used, go for it, try it out. Follow the steps of putting the water in, curing the water, letting it cycle through for a couple weeks, then start introducing small fish at first. But the way I started with this tank, and it's not on the videos, unfortunately, the videos don't go that far back, but how I started was I had a 40-gallon tank. That's all I had, was a 40-gallon tank, and I bought a small Oscar fish, which is Benjamin, and I've put him in the tank, and there was nothing in the tank. I did not put any gravel in the tank. I just provided him with a heater and a air bubbler, and I fed him. I got used to him, and that was partly because I was pretty much given up on fish because of my bad experience with saltwater tanks. They just cost way too much money. All my fish kept dying, and I do not understand. I kept the levels, everything. It just, something didn't work out. So saltwater fish tanks are extremely hard to take care of. If you're thinking of getting into saltwater, good for you. Give it a try. But from my experience, the freshwater are a lot easier to manage, and you don't have to cure the water as much as you need to for the saltwater. Max is getting a little antsy here, so he's jumping all over my camera. Sorry about that. So where was I? Okay, so originally my Oscar was in a 40-gallon tank, and he was no bigger than 4 or 5 inches after a couple months of me having him. And I fed him krill, and the krill was like a dried krill. You can buy it anywhere, even Walmart I think sells them. Now that krill is extremely messy. He would eat it, and it would like fall out of his breathing sockets and out of his mouth, and he would just, there's Max, as you can see, he's just not giving up on being in the video. Sorry about that. Like I mentioned earlier, he needs to be in every video or else I will never hear the end of it. So going on about that, further about that krill. So you learn what to feed him, the big guy, but you also learn that he's extremely sturdy. He's been through so much in my tank, and from the 40-gallon to this big 80-plus gallon, I think it's fair to say that he's seen a lot of changes. As you see, I do move things around, and I'm trying to create a natural scene I'm comfortable with. And after a couple weeks of actually getting to the point where you're happy with your tank, or a couple months maybe sometimes, and you like the way it is, there's always something you want to change, or you have to do a water change. Some things will move around. So I'm going to try and keep things as much as I can towards what they are right now. I've been fighting this tank for a while to have some sort of eye appeal, as well as some sort of fish appeal, so that the fish love it. And as you can see, putting an extremely aggressive flower horn and a lot of these predators and making them all accept the tank the way it is without fighting too much together is not easy to do. But once you hit it, once you know that this is the setup, then you want to try and stay as close to that as possible going forward. And that means to get to this point, you had to do a lot of maybe fish picking, which fish actually work in your tank, which don't. I was very lucky that I started with small fish, and I continued to add fish very selectively, based on videos I've watched, based on things I've talked to people in pet stores about certain fish, about their behavior, things I've seen in tanks, in the pet stores, as well as on videos, as to which fish I should pick, and which ones are slow growers, which ones are fast growers. These are the things you don't need to know right away when you first get into this. But I would say start with one fish, like I did, and I started with Benjamin. Start with one sturdy fish, a fish that will go through you experimenting, doing water changes. Even though you're new to all of this, start with a fish like an Oscar fish, for example. Even though they get really big, it is a good learning experience, and you learn a lot about the whole cichlid family as you continue your journey towards creating a peaceful, beautiful tank that you can look at. The fish are happy, the water is good, everything is great. And you'll know yourself when there is more room in the tank. You'll know when there's not enough room in the tank. You'll know when there is too many decorations in the tank, and you'll know when there's not enough. So these things you will kind of learn, as well as everything else along the way. So you don't need to set up everything at first and then just dump a whole bunch of fish in. That's not how it's done. What you do is you start off, like I said, like maybe possibly like I did, where you buy the fish and just have nothing in the tank at first, just to see if you can make them live for a month or two without killing the poor thing, with feeding them and changing their water and making sure everything's up to par. Once you can do that, then you can start introducing things like decorations, other fish, read about what fish can go with your fish that you've picked, and so on. So it's a lot of research on the go, but the end result will be a happy family in the tank. Everybody will be happy. And if you introduce your fish gradually, let's say you buy one, then a week or 2 months later or a month later you buy another one, and so on and so on. Maybe every week introduce a fish, or every 2 weeks, depending on your budget. Max, be nice. So basically, you continue doing that, and you will keep improving. And like I keep mentioning in this video, you do not have to spend a ton of money right at first. Look for what you want the tank to look like at that particular time, and things will keep changing. You will never have the same tank for a long period of time, as far as like the decorations and the way it looks, because you will always have to move something around if you're cleaning something, or just because you want the fish to swim a little bit better, a little bit more calmly, or have a little bit more fun. It's a lot of fun also to create an environment where there's so much cover, like here, where you have to kind of look into every little corner and see what's swimming there, who's there, and you get to know their behaviors and habits, right? So, and then when you feed them, everybody comes up for feeding time. So it's really neat. And yeah, I strongly recommend everybody take their time, and don't rush into everything. Don't buy all the decorations. Don't get all the chemicals. Don't get everything. Just start with the basics and move from there. And it's more than enough to keep you happy in this hobby, and to maybe introduce other people to your hobby as you continue to learn, and you can teach others as well. Well, that's the basic aquarium knowledge that we all possess, really, even the experts. Nobody's really an expert here, because nobody can tell you, oh, these 3 decorations, that's what you need, this chemical, that chemical, this fish, and don't do anything else. That is just not the case. There's a lot of room in this hobby for people to learn and teach others, and show what is actually a better way of doing things. I mean, I try to record a lot of videos because I want you guys to see all my mistakes. I want you guys to see all the progress I'm making, and I'm hoping to keep making progress, and I hope it is progress. And like I said, in this video, you see me going back a little bit towards what I had originally, minus all the leafage. Because the leafage, when I put in a lot of leafage, even though the fish loved it, it seemed that a lot of food seems to have gathered on it, and the pleco and some of the fish couldn't get to it because it would fall from one leaf under another leaf, and it would be just, there was a ton of debris in there I couldn't get out when I was cleaning. So I'm removing a lot of that leafage for that reason. But it is still nice to keep the leafage here. So what you can see is what I use my plants for. Like on the left here, you'll see that there are there's actually 3 different decorations here on the left. There is a brown decoration that's right in the middle. There's a small decoration right there, and a big one in the back. Now to merge them together so you don't actually see the seams of, well, this is a brown one and this is a different color one. What I do is I put leafage there. And that way, when you look from further away, you do not see that blend or that drastic change. Some places in the aquarium, though, I can't do that. I can't get away with that. So you'll see like a white decoration there. Then all of a sudden you'll see this big gray one here and a brown one in the back. But at that point of that decoration set up there, I need to create these little crevices, little holes, and I call them channels for these fish to swim under and through. They need to have sort of like these raceways so that they can quickly run away from enemies and swim through these various holes. So they run away from each other, and nobody chases each other too much anymore, except for my flower horn, who are trying to breed in the corner. Nobody really chases each other anymore because they know the other fish will run away. They know the other fish has enough space and holes, and so they basically gave up on chasing each other because of that. So you can see that they're more calm because of the way that those decorations are set up. And I'm going to leave you with all those things I mentioned and a shot at my bird, Max, who's been trying so much to get into this video today. And just to show you, I had to take off the cover of the aquarium filter here, and I put a weight on it because he's been taking the top of the filter off, and I've been fishing for the top of the filter from the back of the tank almost every day, so he's a bit of a troublemaker. But you guys, don't give up on your tanks. And pass on all the things you've learned and all the things you've noticed to everybody else. And I'll do the same. Subscribe to my channel and have a good day, guys.